Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you how to create and use loops when you're building out a song. We're going to talk about looping certain tracks or extending certain tracks to fill an entire production today. But before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and talk about creating loops for a song. The first thing we're going to look at here is the simplest loop that I do pretty much every production I'm building out, and it's the tambourine loop. For this song here, it stays the same tempo all the way through. It's the same time signature all the way through, like most songs are these days. If you have changing time signatures, sometimes it can get a little bit tricky doing stuff like this. But if you have the same time signature, same rhythm all the way through, same structure, this is an easy trick to do to easily get yourself a tambourine all the way through your track. So I'm going to duplicate this track here so I can show you how we built it out. So for this song, this final chorus here, right? It's a double chorus and then an outro section. I wanted the tambourine to run all the way through, but the tambourine track that we started with here, if I copy it down, and if you don't know, Alt-Drag will copy it down, it's not that long of a tambourine part if we take a look. So it's just a short little tambourine pass. That's how I usually do it. We record 4, 5, 8 bars of tambourine. You grab one that's the best, and if you want to time align it, you can as well. If you want to hit Q and quantize it, set it right on the grid, you can as well. I usually like to just grab the best one here. The one that fits best with the song, the one that sits the most comfortably, whatever it is, you can find the one that's best. And you'll end up with your one little square. So whether you want to cut it out, that's usually what I do. I grab a little cut there. So Alt-X will cut at the end of your range there, and then you can delete everything else. And because it's on the grid, because you cut it in on your points there, right on the grid, you can drag it right to your 1. So now you can see it lines up perfectly on our 1. And then all we're going to do here, because there are extensions to it, right, because it doesn't cut off, it does go further back, and it does go further forward, we can actually just duplicate it and crossfade these pieces together here because it sits so perfectly, right? Because this actually does go on further, and this actually goes back further, we have a point to crossfade. So we can duplicate it, click on both sides, so click, shift click, hit X, it'll add our crossfade in, and then it'll be pretty seamless here. No editing needs to be done there at all. All we do, we put the crossfade in, and it sits seamlessly together. It feels like our tambourine keeps going. The nice part about this is that if you needed the tambourine all the way through your track, let's drag this back to the beginning of the song here. So we can see where our song starts there, and we can just duplicate it, duplicate both, duplicate them again, and we can just duplicate it all the way through our track there, and then we highlight everything. We click X, and suddenly we have a tambourine that runs the length of our track. And even though it's a loop like this, it still has that human feel of someone actually playing the tambourine because they actually played the tambourine. It's not something we've pulled in from the loop library, had someone track about 8 bars of tambourine, cut the perfect one out, so picked one that we liked the best, cut out, it's what, 2 bars, a 2-bar take of tambourine, looped it through our song, and put it exactly where we need it. Suddenly we have a nice little tambourine that we can pull up underneath, give our song some flow, give our song some vibe. So that's the first way, that's the easy way I pretty much do on every track to throw tambourine in wherever I need it, be it the choruses, the verse sections. Same thing is being done here with the shaker, right? Tracking about 8 bars of shaker, picking out a 2-bar section that fits really, really well, that's really nice in time. Grab it, duplicate it, crossfade it, and we have a shaker track that runs the length of our song there. That's how we're starting with building our loop there. So you get a nice tambourine loop that you can run the length of your song here. The other way I usually like to do it is I have a couple pads that I swap in and out of songs here. So if I duplicate this guy here, A long, long time ago when we were tracking a session, I had a guitar player that made this really, really nice pad. Let me play you what it sounds like here. So this is actually a guitar part. It's just a 1 and a 5 on a guitar chord, and then it rings out, and he held it for a really, really long time, and I just grabbed it, saved it into my file folders so I could throw it into songs as need be. So take a listen to what this sounds like. So it's just a nice, long, sustaining pad here, literally from a guitar part. Just a 1 and a 5 from a chord. Doesn't have that third in there, so it doesn't dictate if it's major or minor. Just a nice, long pad that'll fit in a variety of songs. So if I pull this down here to this track, you can see how long he actually recorded it for. This is how long the actual recording goes on. And it ends here, so it's too short for the song. Whether I want to create a loop from it or just extend it, this is how I would do it here. So I would pull it back till it's not ending, because you can see it kind of fades off here at the end. And if we zoom in a little bit further, you can see how our volume kind of ends off here, right? It starts to slowly die down here at the end. I don't want the crossfade here when I try and loop it or extend it to kind of be fighting a fade out at the end. So I'm going to dip back here a little bit, and we'll go to here. And you know what we'll actually do is we'll get rid of the fade at the beginning. So we'll talk about creating this into a loop. So if I go in a little bit further, we have kind of like the heart of this sound now, right? It looks pretty consistent all the way through. And if we drag this to the beginning of the song where we need it, we can duplicate it here, but it probably won't go that smoothly yet if we listen to it. So take a listen here. So because it's just one sound holding out there, there's a little bit of difference going on, right? It's not just a solid sound or a solid note. It has a little bit of wavering to it because it is a guitar note that's being held out. It's ringing out, so it has some resonance that vibrates up and down. When it flips back to the next sound, we get a little click because it's not the same and the waveforms probably don't line up. What we can do here to make sure it sounds smooth, add a little crossfade in, but if we add the crossfade in, it probably still has a little pop. So then it just sounds like it's starting over there. We don't want it to sound like it's starting over. I want it to extend. So what we can do is we can pull this crossfade out a little bit on each side here. And I actually like to go at least a bar or maybe half a bar. So we'll go to the 4 here, and we'll go to the 2 here on this side. And then I'm going to pull this down so it's even, and we're going to go 1 up here. So we're going to make it a logarithmic fade. I don't like that it's being weird here. There we go. And then we can back up a little bit, and when we hit play, it should be a little bit more seamless. Hear that? Now you don't notice it. So one more time, if you close your eyes, probably can't spot where it's changing. It's a seamless connection. We can do the same thing now one more time. So if we were to duplicate both of these again, we could make a really, really long pad that we can put wherever we want, fade it in, fade it out at the end of the song. So same thing here. We'll create our crossfade. Zoom in a little bit to extend it on either side here. And then we want it to be a little bit further on each side, just so we have some leeway here. So I'll pull it out to the 4 on this side, and we'll pull it out to the 2 on this side. And you can even go further. We could go, let's go to the 3, we'll go to the 3 and 3. So it'll be a full bar here of crossfade. And again, I like to make it logarithmic, because if it's still linear, then it'll kind of feel like it fades in and then fades back up. We don't want it to fade out and then fade back in. I want it to stay very, very consistent, so it's a seamless transition into our next piece here. So if we back up a little bit and hit play. It's seamless all the way through. So little things like this, whether it's tambourine parts or something like this that you save. Like I said, this was just a piece from an old song. I liked the way it sounded, and it's probably tuned too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's transposed. So this isn't the original key of this sound. I think it's in D or G or something like that. And all I did was I tuned it down to match the key of the song. So I know what key it's in, or I did at some point, and I just tweak it to fit any of the songs that I'm throwing it in. And like I said, you can make it however long you want to fit the song, because you know how to create little loops and line it up. And then we can fade it in if we want it at the beginning. Fade it in to fit the song. Chop it at the end of the song and fade it out if we wanted to. Put a little fade here on the end of the song so it fades out nicely with the song. Whatever you need to do with these things. Same thing with the tambourine, right? This little piece at the end, we didn't need all of the tambourine there. We didn't need that ending part, so we can just bring it in, chop it off, and add our little fade, and then everything fits in really, really nicely. So those are a couple tips and tricks there. Oh, losing my words there. To help you create loops, help you create little patterns, and things like our keyboard here. So our pad, something that I grabbed from another song. It fit perfectly, just tuned it, but I needed to extend it to fill the entire length of the song. So we're just duplicating it, fitting them together, crossfading, and suddenly we have a looped pad part that can run the length of our song. Just a couple production tricks there for you today. I hope that was helpful, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to level up your mixes and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.